Chosen one. You did not come across these words by chance. There was a moment, perhaps brief, perhaps dismissed, when your body stirred with something strange. An unexpected itch upon your hand, a subtle tingling along your spine, a sudden heat upon your scalp that arrived without cause and left without reason. You may have brushed it off, attributing it to something mundane. But it was not mundane, not for you, because you have been marked. Your body is not just flesh and nerves. It is a living altar, a sacred vessel upon which the hand of the Almighty inscribes divine signals. And when your soul begins to awaken in the unseen realm, it is your skin that speaks first. An itch, a flicker, a stirring beneath the surface. This is not discomfort. This is a spiritual transmission. God does not whisper like this to those who are still asleep. He does not press through the veil of skin to reach those who have not been chosen. But to you, the chosen one, every movement, every sensation carries meaning. Something within your very body has begun to shift, and that shift is not accidental. It is an activation. So if your body has started to feel strange in recent days, if unexplained itches, pulses, or tugs have stirred you from silence, know this: you are being summoned, not by man, not by your own thoughts, but by the living God, who saw you before the foundation of the world, who set your life apart for such a time as this. Now he speaks to you through the sacred language of the body. And if you are sensing this even now, you can no longer ignore it. This is your hour. This is your message. And what comes next will forever alter the way you see yourself and the body you live in. If your body has stirred, and you now know it was the hand of God, comment, God is awakening me below. Let it be your sacred agreement, your quiet yes to the one who speaks through spirit and skin. You're not imagining it. You're being marked, and you are ready to respond. The hands, where heaven meets your willingness. Your hands are not merely limbs of utility. They are sacred extensions of your essence, gateways of intention, instruments of both offering and reception. From the beginning, the hands of the chosen have carried a weight unseen by human eyes. They are vessels through which heaven pours and through which the earth responds. And when your hands begin to itch suddenly without clear cause, it is not a matter of dry skin or passing irritation. No, it is something deeper. It is the language of the Spirit, stirring through your flesh, alerting you to an invisible shift already underway in the realm of the divine. As C.S. Lewis wrote in Letters to Malcolm chiefly on prayer, we may ignore, but we can nowhere evade the presence of God. The world is crowded with him. He walks everywhere, incognito. This truth illuminates the stirring in your hands. The itch is God's inescapable presence, signaling incognito through your flesh, awakening you to a divine shift that calls for open palms to receive his sacred gifts. If it is your right hand that begins to stir, take notice, for this is not just a bodily response, it is a spiritual signal. In many traditions and more deeply in the architecture of divine design, the right hand is the hand of reception, of manifestation, of blessing. When the right palm itches, it may be heaven's way of signaling that something is approaching. A door is about to open. A gift, long prayed for, is now within reach. It could be provision, opportunity, healing, or clarity. But this is not only about what's coming. It's about whether or not you've made space to receive it. For many cry out to God for breakthrough, but when it arrives, their hearts are still entangled in fear. Their minds still cling to old disappointments. Their hands remain closed, unconsciously bracing for more pain. But closed hands cannot receive sacred things. What has been written for you cannot fall into a grip still hardened by mistrust. On the other hand, quite literally, when your left hand begins to itch, the message is just as urgent, but it calls for a different kind of obedience. The left hand is the hand of release, of surrender, of loosening the grip. Its signal is not about what is coming, but what must go. And this chosen one may be more difficult than it seems. For what must be released may not be something obviously harmful. It might be something familiar, something that once gave you comfort, something that once served your survival. But God is not calling you to survive anymore. He is calling you to rise. And rising often requires laying things down, relationships that pull your spirit backward, identities that no longer reflect who you've become, stories about yourself that you've outgrown but still carry like armor. When your left hand itches, it may be heaven's way of asking, why are you still holding this? It cannot go where I'm taking you. There are rare moments when both hands begin to itch at the same time, and when that happens, it is not coincidence. It is not misfire. It is a holy collision, a sacred intersection between incoming grace and lingering bondage. It is the moment where your future and your past meet at the threshold of your now. It is a tug of war between what is trying to enter your life and what you are still refusing to release. This moment is divine tension, and it should not be ignored. If you feel this, if both your palms tingle, burn, or itch without explanation, it is because God is standing at the door with newness in his hands, but he will not force your own open. You must choose to unclench your fists. You must choose to trust again. So let me ask you plainly, chosen one, what are you gripping so tightly that heaven cannot place its gift in your hands? What old weight, what outdated narrative, what false security are you still clutching as if your life depends on it, when in truth, your future depends on your willingness to release it. Your destiny requires open palms, not clenched fists. And this moment, this sacred stirring in your skin, is not meant to irritate you. It is meant to awaken you. Take a breath, look at your hands, and do not ask what is wrong with them. Ask instead, what is God trying to place in them? And what am I still too afraid to let go of? Because the blessing is already on its way. The question is, will your hands be ready when it arrives? The feet, the divine summons to move. Your feet, though often overlooked, carry more than the weight of your physical form. They carry your destiny. They are the foundation of every step you take, the silent witnesses of every path you've walked, and they bear the imprint of both where you have been and where heaven is calling you next. And so when they begin to itch subtly at first, then more insistently, it is not simply a biological reaction, it is a spiritual summons. C.S. Lewis in the Screwtape Letters wrote, "The safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope soft underfoot without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts. This warning unveils the danger of staying still when called to move. The itch in your feet is God's signpost, urging you to break from the gradual, comfortable path of stagnation and step boldly toward the divine movement he has ordained. To the world, an itch on the foot is trivial, but to the chosen, it is often the first call to movement, a call to leave the place of comfort, to rise from stagnation, to break out of routine and walk toward the unknown. And this is never easy. For the place where you are now, though perhaps unsatisfying, is familiar. It is predictable. It is safe. And yet deep down something has started to feel off. You sense it, even when you cannot name it. That your time here, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, is coming to an end. That this place, this level, this cycle can no longer contain what God is stirring inside you. The itching on your feet, chosen one, may be your soul's quiet rebellion against a life that no longer fits your calling. It is the divine tapping the soles of your being and saying, you were not meant to stay here. Because staying still, when your soul is ready to move, is a form of self-betrayal. And heaven will not remain silent while you shrink into spaces you've outgrown. God does not call you into stillness when you are meant to rise. He will unsettle you. He will make familiar places feel foreign. He will whisper through your skin until you feel the need to go without knowing exactly where. And here lies the paradox. You will feel restless long before you feel ready. The itch will come before the clarity, because the path of the chosen is rarely revealed in full. Instead, it begins with a sacred discomfort, a holy irritation, a sense that the ground beneath your feet no longer aligns with the terrain of your spirit. That subtle ache in your steps, the tension in your toes, the tingle that wakes you in the night, it's not telling you to scratch, it's telling you to walk, but walk where Sometimes it's not a literal journey. Sometimes God is calling you to shift inward, to leave behind small thinking old patterns, toxic loyalties, or limiting beliefs. Sometimes He's calling you into a new mindset, a new mission, a higher version of who He created you to be. And even if no one else sees it, you feel it, the slow stirring, the building pressure, the quiet, knowing that this life, the way it is, can no longer contain the magnitude of what He placed inside of you. So ask yourself now with unflinching honesty, have I been ignoring the signs? Have I been convincing myself to stay somewhere? My soul is begging me to leave. Your future does not begin when everything feels secure. It begins the moment you obey the call, even while trembling, especially while trembling, because fear is not the enemy. Fear is often the final sign that your next level is close. Your feet know this long before your mind does. They itch when the threshold is near. They burn when you are being summoned forward. So the next time that sensation returns, whether it's a restless pulse, a silent urging, or a subtle itch across the soles of your feet, do not reach for comfort. Do not reach for distraction. Reach for courage. Reach for obedience. Because what God has prepared for you cannot be reached by staying still. The path has already been written. The invitation has already been issued. The only question that remains is, will you rise and take the first step, the scalp, the crown where spirit breaks in? There is a sacred gateway that sits atop your being, often forgotten beneath the noise of thought and the pressure of daily life. It is not your intellect. It is not your logic. It is the crown of your soul, the place where heaven speaks directly to your spirit. And when your scalp begins to itch, burn, tingle, or pulse without visible cause, it is not a coincidence. It is a sign that something from above is pressing in, either to warn you or to awaken you. C.S. Lewis, in Mere Christianity, wrote, "God made us, invented us as a man invents an engine. A car is made to run on petrol, and it would not run properly on anything else. Now God designed the human machine to run on Himself." This insight reveals the purpose of your crown stirring. The itch in your scalp is God's call to realign your mind with His divine fuel, clearing the noise of lesser voices to receive His truth and renew your spirit. For the chosen one, your mind is not a battlefield by accident. It is the first place the enemy targets and the first place heaven seeks to inhabit. When your thoughts spiral uncontrollably, when doubt loops endlessly, when regret, fear, and overthinking drown out all inner peace, your body reacts. And often that reaction comes through your scalp. That tingling, that restlessness at the top of your head, it is the spiritual static that reveals a mind overstimulated by noise, yet starving for truth. It is heaven saying you are too full of lesser voices to hear my whisper. But not all scalp sensations are symptoms of distress. Sometimes they are signs of something far more sacred. There are moments, often quiet, unexplainable moments, when a soft vibration, a gentle warmth, or an electric pulse seems to touch your crown. These are not warnings. They are invitations. You may be on the verge of a divine download, a breakthrough of truth, wisdom, or prophetic insight that your conscious mind cannot yet comprehend. And because the ego cannot process what the spirit discerns, it resists, it distracts, it creates discomfort, the itching, the confusion, the unease. It is not the enemy, it is the shaking of old frameworks, the cracking open of false identities, the arrival of new revelation. You are being called higher, but this is not a call that enters through the ears. It descends through the crown. And if your crown is cluttered with fear, with inherited beliefs, with survival mechanisms that no longer serve your future, then even divine truth will feel like friction. You may feel agitated, exhausted, overstimulated. But the truth is, God is trying to renew your mind, to rewire how you think, how you interpret the world, how you see yourself. Not every thought in your head belongs to you. Some were seeded by trauma. Some were whispered by darkness. Some were planted in childhood and never questioned. And now, as the anointing draws near, Those old voices are being uprooted violently, urgently, because they cannot coexist with the assignment that is being released over your life. So let me ask you, chosen one, what thoughts are you repeating that heaven never wrote? What beliefs are you bowing to that the Father never authored? Who told you to be afraid of your own voice? Who taught you to trust logic more than divine intuition? The crown is not just the place where hair grows. It is where your authority begins. It is where alignment happens. And when it begins to stir, it means you are standing on the threshold between who you've been and who God has called you to become. Your scalp is not broken. Your mind is not broken. But they are tired of carrying lies. They are weary from noise. And they are longing for silence, not the silence of despair, but the sacred stillness where heaven speaks clearly. That itch is not meant to be silenced with distraction. It is meant to be discerned, because the one who placed his hand upon your head before you were born is placing it there again now, and this time he is not only blessing you, he is crowning you, the back, where the unseen weight rests. There is a part of your body that no one sees until it breaks. A place that carries burdens not spoken aloud, wounds not fully understood, and responsibilities you were never meant to hold. It is your back, the silent terrain of endurance, the hidden altar of pressure. And when your back begins to itch, particularly in the upper or middle region, it is not merely about skin. It is about strain. It is about what you have been carrying for far too long in silence. The world sees your face, your words, your strength, but your back has known the full weight of what it means to survive. It holds the echoes of unprocessed grief, unspoken exhaustion, and suppressed cries for help. For the chosen one, this is especially true. You were born with a mantle. You were marked to carry more, to endure more, to stand when others fall. And so you did. You carried the emotions of others, their expectations, their pain, their chaos, all while appearing steady. But now your body is speaking. That itch between your shoulder blades, it may be your spirit saying, "This is too much. This was never yours to hold." You have mistaken carrying everything for being strong. But strength in the kingdom is not measured by silent suffering. It is measured by surrender. There are burdens you picked up long ago, perhaps out of love, perhaps out of fear, perhaps out of the simple belief that no one else would carry them if you didn't. And for a season you were right. But that season has ended, and heaven is calling you to lay it down, because you cannot step into your next assignment bent beneath the weight of yesterday's survival. But not every back itch is about the weight. Sometimes it's about the absence, the ache for something you were meant to have, but never received protection, affection, support. The back is where betrayal lands, the place where knives are metaphorically buried. But it is also the place where love is felt most deeply, when someone stands behind you and says, "I've got you." And perhaps, chosen one, that is what your soul is crying out for now. Not another responsibility, but relief. Not another role to perform, but someone who sees the ache beneath your armor and still chooses to stay. Isn't it strange how the part of your body that's hardest to reach is often where you feel discomfort the most? Perhaps that's the point. Perhaps this discomfort wasn't meant to be healed alone. Perhaps this is your permission, your divine release, to stop walking as if you were never allowed to collapse. You have proven you can carry. Now, it's time to let God carry you. So pause and ask yourself with sacred honesty, am I still holding pain that no one ever asked me to carry? Am I pretending to be okay so I don't become a burden while my soul is begging to be seen? The chosen often walk alone not because they are unloved, but because their weight is misunderstood. But even the called need covering. And this itch, it may not be a curse. It may be an invitation to finally say, "I can't do this alone anymore, and I don't have to." Because strength does not always look like standing tall. Sometimes it looks like kneeling low, placing the burden at the feet of the one who never asked you to carry it in the first place. And the moment you do, your back will not just stop aching, it will begin to rise. The moving itch. Signs of inner awakening. There is a kind of restlessness that does not settle. An itch that appears here then there, your arm, your neck, your ankle, your ribs, like something is chasing you beneath the surface of your skin. But this is not irritation. This is not random. This is not your body malfunctioning. No, this is a sign that your soul is moving, even if your outer life has not yet caught up. You are not static. You were never meant to be. And when God begins to call a chosen one into transformation, the change begins far before the world sees it. It starts within, deep, subtle, sacred. This is what happens when your inner frequency begins to shift. Long before you change jobs, cities, relationships, or purpose, your energy begins to rearrange itself. Heaven begins to stretch what no longer fits, and your body, holy and sensitive to divine movement, responds before your mind can comprehend what's happening. The itch that roams, that confuses, that seems to have no source, is the symptom of your becoming. Yes, becoming is uncomfortable. Transformation always is. And while the world may diagnose you with sensitivity, distraction, or stress, heaven knows better. This is spiritual recalibration. Some call it ascension. Others call it awakening. But in truth, it is the sacred breaking of what was so, that what is destined may rise, chosen one. You may have also noticed other things. Sudden bursts of emotion, memories resurfacing without warning, dreams so vivid they shake you, restlessness without reason, a feeling like the very air around you is too tight to breathe. These are not accidents. These are divine signals echoing the truth that something inside of you is shifting violently, beautifully, necessarily. But the tragedy is this. Many feel the shift and silence it. They reach for distraction. They seek relief. They scratch the skin and numb the sensation, never once asking, "What is this trying to awaken in me?" But you are not called to numb. You are called to discern. This is not the time to dismiss your discomfort. It is the time to ask it what it came to reveal. The itch is not the problem. It is the invitation. It is the knock on the door of your soul saying, "It's time. Time to release the old story. Time to rise into the next dimension. Time to shed what no longer reflects who you truly are." And yes, it will feel like dying, because in a way it is. But what dies now is only the version of you that was never meant to last. What is being born is the one who has always been hidden inside the true you, the appointed you, the anointed you. So when the itch returns, this time on your ribs, next time on your jaw, then again on your thigh, do not treat it as discomfort. Treat it as language, the sacred tongue of a body in spiritual motion. You are being refined, not punished. You are being summoned, not afflicted. And you cannot stay the same, because heaven has declared a new thing over you. The old shell is cracking. The old form is falling away. And no matter how much you try to cling to the familiar, you are being called into the unknown. But this unknown is not empty. It is holy. It is where your next identity waits. And every inch of your skin, every flicker, every twitch, every moving itch is a trumpet announcing, "Make way." The chosen one is waking up. The night itch, divine activation in your sleep. There is a moment when the world grows quiet, when the noise of the day fades, when your defenses dissolve and your soul, raw, unguarded, lies open beneath the veil of sleep. It is in this stillness, this holy silence between midnight and morning, that the spirit often moves with greatest clarity. And if you, the chosen one, have ever been awakened by an itch in the dark, restless legs, tingling arms, a sudden burn upon your scalp or your chest, it was not your body being disturbed. It was your spirit being stirred. In the night, you are no longer performing. You are no longer busy. You are not numbing, distracting, explaining. You are simply you, lying in the sacred vulnerability of rest. And that is when heaven moves. That is when divine signals are sent not to your ears but to your skin, not as words but as fire, as friction, as an unshakable awareness that something unseen has entered the room. The itch you feel, while half asleep, is not random. It is a spiritual tapping, a gentle yet urgent knock on the door of your soul. God does not need daylight to awaken you. In fact, some of his most profound visitations come in the shadows when your walls are down and your heart is exposed. These sensations are not a call to scratch, they are a call to listen. Because the messages you ignore during the day often return at night, insistent, relentless, divine. And it is no coincidence that this happens when you are least prepared. For the chosen are rarely warned before they are activated. You are not being punished. You are being summoned to pray, to discern, to awaken, to receive. There may be no voice, no dream, no vision, only the itch, only the sensation that something is reaching through the veil, asking if your soul is still awake. In these moments you may feel confused. You may toss and turn, reaching for comfort. But don't rush to silence it. Instead, sit up, breathe. Ask, Lord, are you speaking? Because he is. The question is not whether God is present. The question is whether your awareness will rise to meet him. In the stillness of night, the veil between heaven and earth is thinner, and your body, consecrated and set apart, was designed to receive more than rest. It was built to receive revelation. So, if you find yourself awakened again, stirred by something you cannot name, do not be afraid. Do not rush to return to sleep. Instead, remember who you are. You are the chosen one. You are marked for midnight visitations. You are wired for divine sensitivity. And this discomfort is your spirit catching fire from something holy. The itch that calls you from your slumber is not a disruption. It is a visitation. And if you listen closely beneath the hum of silence, beneath the pulse of your heartbeat, you may just hear it. Wake up. I have come, and I have something to show you. The heart itch, unlocking the divine love you were destined to carry. There is a place within your being that holds more weight than any crown and more memory than any mind. It is the chamber where pain once settled and love once tried to bloom. It is your heart, not just the physical center that keeps your body alive, but the spiritual core, where identity, intimacy, and divine purpose intertwine. And when the area near your chest begins to stir, to itch or pulse without cause, it is not merely skin reacting to the air. It is a sacred signal. It is God reaching toward the innermost part of you, saying gently but firmly, it's time to open. You, the chosen one, have loved deeply but cautiously. You have been bruised by those who never saw you, clearly scarred by the weight of silent expectations, and shaped by a world that taught you to protect your softness by hardening your edges. You gave when it hurt, you stayed when it broke you, and you carried a kind of sacred loneliness that only the chosen understand. And so you built walls. You wrapped your heart in silence and logic, calling it wisdom. But now the wall is beginning to crack. Not because you are weak, but because heaven is near. That itch, that burning near your heart, is not a warning, it is an invitation. God is unlocking something within you. He is awakening the part of you that still believes in love, not the counterfeit kind, not the surface kind, but the kind that restores, revives, and realigns your entire destiny. This love may not arrive in the way you expect. It may not be packaged in perfection or explained by reason. In fact, it may challenge your control. It may call you to feel again, to risk again, to hope again. But this time, it's different. Because this love is not coming to take from you. It's coming to activate you. It's not arriving to entertain your ego. It's here to fulfill a calling. You may already sense it. A connection that transcends understanding. A presence that lingers in silence. A soul that mirrors your purpose in ways you cannot explain. And perhaps this is what your heart has been preparing for all along. Because for the chosen ones, love is never just emotional, it is missional. When the right heart meets the right moment, divine assignments are born. But for this to enter, your heart must open, not to fantasy but to faith, not to illusions but to the real, raw, untamed love of the God who created you. And yes, to let this in means allowing him to dissolve the fear, the bitterness, the old stories you've carried about what love means and what you deserve. You are not being asked to return to pain. You are being asked to return to presence, to trust that what heaven sends will not crush you but complete you, and to remember that the ache in your chest is not a signal of emptiness. It is the echo of something approaching. So when your chest begins to stir, when your skin tingles over the place where your heart beats loudest, do not rush to dismiss it. Close your eyes. Breathe. Ask yourself with sacred honesty, what part of me is still afraid to be seen? What kind of love have I been too afraid to receive? What would happen if I finally said yes to the kind of connection that doesn't just comfort me but calls me? Because that's what's coming. Not a love that distracts. A love that awakens. Not one that makes you smaller. One that lifts you into your divine capacity. And it begins here at the center of your chest where the spirit stirs and the mission meets the heart, the forehead, the divine seal and sacred recognition. There is a place between your eyes just above the bridge of your nose where ancient scripture, spiritual traditions, and heavenly mysteries converge. It is the place of clarity, of spiritual sight, of divine imprint. The world may call it the mind's eye, the seat of intuition, the center of vision. But to the one who is chosen, it is more than a concept. It is a living seal, a mark not seen by man, but known by heaven. And when your forehead begins to itch, throb, pulse, or feel strangely alive, you must understand, this is not irritation. This is recognition. Heaven is touching the very place where your identity and your calling are being marked for visibility. You have walked through life, mostly hidden, misunderstood, mislabeled or unseen by the very people you tried to serve and love. But hiddenness was never a punishment, it was preparation. You were concealed for a season because what God was forming in you was not ordinary. It could not be rushed, nor exposed prematurely. But now, something has shifted. The veil is thinning. The covering is being lifted. And when your forehead stirs, it is because your spirit is being revealed. Not just to others, but to yourself. You are being introduced to who you truly are. Beneath all survival, beneath the titles, beneath the masks you wore to stay protected. You are not just waking up to your gifts. You are waking up to your origin. The forehead is where identity is affirmed in the realm of spirit. It is where the king places his seal. Revelation 7 speaks of those marked by God foreheads, carrying a sign that cannot be erased. And while the world cannot see it, the enemy does. So does heaven. So do the ones assigned to your journey. This is why chosen one. You may feel a sensation on your forehead right before moments of deep clarity, divine encounter, or sudden spiritual warfare. Because the place that bears the mark of heaven is also the place most targeted by hell. The enemy fears your clarity more than your strength. He fears what will happen when you finally see yourself clearly, when you walk with authority, not insecurity. So the next time your forehead tingles or burns, do not brush it away. Do not rush to explain it. Instead, pause and listen. Your spirit is receiving alignment. Your soul is receiving instruction. A download may be underway, a vision, a warning, a glimpse of what is to come. And even if your mind cannot comprehend it, your inner man already knows. The mark is not being placed. It was always there. But now, it is being activated. Now, it begins to shine. Now, it begins to attract what belongs to it and repel what does not. You will find that people begin to respond to you differently. Some will be drawn without understanding why. Others will resist you, reject you, even try to dismiss you. Do not take it personally. The seal on your forehead announces who you are in realms they cannot perceive. It speaks before you speak. It calls things into motion that logic cannot explain. It is not your job to make them comfortable with your calling. It is your job to walk forward, head held high, heart wide open, spirit fully lit. Because when God seals a forehead, He is not just identifying a person, He is identifying a purpose. And your life, chosen one, is no longer just your own. It has become a beacon, a signal, a signpost to others still searching in the dark. And now that the mark has stirred, now that the itch has come, you are no longer hidden. You are seen. Now that you've begun to understand what has truly been happening within your body, you can never return to the numbness of before. What once felt like a passing itch, a strange tingle, a restless stirring beneath your skin, was never random, never meaningless. It was the Spirit of the living God, reaching through the veil, speaking to you in the only language you were still able to hear when your mind was too crowded to listen, the language of sensation. You were not scratching. You were responding. You were answering a divine call that had been echoing through your being quietly at first, then louder, more insistent until your body could no longer ignore it. Every part of you has been trying to wake you up, not from sleep, but from spiritual forgetfulness. The itching in your hands wasn't a coincidence. It was a message. It was the Father asking, "Will you open to what I want to place in your life? Will you release what no longer serves where I am taking you?" The stirring in your feet was not discomfort. It was a summons to movement, to obedience, to leave behind the familiar and step into the unknown. The burning in your scalp was not stress. It was heaven pressing against the gates of your mind, trying to tear down the lies and fear and overthinking that have clouded your clarity. The ache in your back was not just physical. It was the weight of unspoken grief, responsibility, and pressure you were never meant to carry alone. The flickering over your heart wasn't anxiety. It was the Spirit unlocking you, preparing you to receive a love that heals instead of wounds, builds instead of breaks, aligns instead of distracts. You see, chosen one. This was never about the itch. It was about what the itch was pointing to. It was about the transformation beneath the surface, the spiritual shift already in motion. The new chapter heaven has been trying to deliver to your doorstep, and now you can feel it. Something in you has changed. You're no longer who you were. You may still look the same on the outside, but inside, something ancient has stirred. Something holy has been awakened. You feel things more deeply now. You sense what others ignore. You are more sensitive to energy, to presence, to truth, and deception alike. You feel when something is off, even when it looks right. You feel when something is meant for you, even if it scares you. That is not weakness. That is activation. Your body has been speaking to you because God has been speaking through it. You are not like everyone else, and you were never meant to be. You have been marked since before birth, hidden in plain sight, trained in the wilderness, shaped by pain, preserved by grace, and now revealed by fire. The signs were always there, but now that you've seen them, now that you've understood them, you cannot unsee, you cannot unfeel. You cannot go back to pretending this is normal, that you are ordinary, that your life is just a string of random events and passing seasons. Because it's not. You are on divine assignment. And the moment your skin began to stir, the moment your body began to buzz with something you couldn't explain, that was the moment the heavens declared, "It is time." So what happens now? You walk differently. You pray differently. You listen more carefully. You treat your body not as a burden, but as a vessel, because it is. You begin to notice the signs earlier. You begin to trust your inner knowing without demanding outside confirmation. You begin to see how everything, every ache, every dream, every surge of energy is part of the communication between you and the one who created you. And through it all, you remember you are not broken. You are not crazy. You are not alone. You are chosen, and you are awakening. This is not the end. This is the beginning of the version of you that you were always meant to become. The beginning of clarity, of alignment, of deep knowing and holy obedience. The beginning of walking as one who is marked not by the world but by heaven. You have received the signal. You have felt the fire. You have answered the call. And now nothing will ever feel the same again.